$110 million to the city of Houston after an ordinance reducing coordination between HPD and ICE has passed. We'll discuss this with Houston Public Media reporter Dominic Anthony Walsh. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. We'll also find out about what's being planned for Houston's first Fleet Week with co-chair Reda Hicks and Margaret Kidd, a special advisor for the Houston Maritime Center and Museum.
Plus, we'll also be joined by the founders of the Divine Art Coalition, who will tell us all about their nonprofit dedicated to preserving the city's cultural legacy.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The head of the International Energy Agency says more than 80 energy facilities across the Middle East have been hit since the U.S. and Israel waged war against Iran about a month and a half ago. NPR's Aya Batrawi reports the top IEA official warns it could take up to 2 years to repair the damage.
The International Energy Agency's chief, Fateh Birol, told an audience at the Atlantic Council that more than 80 oil and gas fields, refineries, and energy terminals were damaged in 6 weeks of war. His comments come as the Qatar-based Al Jazeera channel released footage for the first time of Iran's March missile attack on the Ras Laffan gas complex in Qatar and damage to the El Udeid air base, where some 10,000 U.S. troops were stationed before the war. Iran's state news agency, meanwhile, says Iran wants financial compensation from 4 Gulf Arab states and Jordan for hosting U.S. troops that attacked it during the war. Some Arab Gulf states say it's Iran that should pay for region-wide damage. Aya Batrawi, NPR News, Dubai.
2 members of Congress say they will resign following allegations of sexual misconduct. Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez and California Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell, who has been accused by several women. Swalwell has already announced that he is suspending his campaign for California governor. NPR's Elena Moore reports on an ongoing debate in Congress about how to hold lawmakers accountable.
NPR has not independently verified the allegations against Swalwell, which were first reported by the San Francisco Chronicle and CNN, and Swalwell has forcefully denied them. Still, it sparked almost immediate political backlash, especially as Swalwell is one of a handful of members facing controversy right now. For weeks, there have also been calls for Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez to resign over a past affair with a staffer who later died by suicide. Gonzalez has since said he will not run for re-election. But shortly after Swalwell announced he was resigning, Gonzalez said in a statement that he planned to file his retirement from office. Elena Moore, NPR News.
The Federal Aviation Administration is seeking to limit flights at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport to help prevent flight delays during the busy summer travel season. Here's NPR's Joel Rose.
American and United are locked in a fight over market share at O'Hare Airport. Both airlines have been aggressively adding flights at the airport, where they each have a hub. Maybe too many flights, according to the FAA. Regulators are moving to cap flights at O'Hare this summer to prevent gridlock at the airport, which is now the busiest in the U.S. in terms of takeoffs and landings. The airlines have supported the FAA's plan, at least publicly, but the Chicago Department of Aviation, which operates the airport, argues that O'Hare's recent expansion has reduced delays and increased its operating capacity. Joel Rose, NPR News.
The Dow is up 324 points. It's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. This Friday, the Houston City Council will consider repealing an ordinance intended to curtail coordination between the police department and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Mayor John Whitmire initially supported the ordinance, but he wants to reverse it because Governor Greg Abbott threatened to revoke $110 million in public safety grants. Councilmember Amy Peck chairs the Public Safety Committee. She voted against the measure last week and says it should be repealed.
If this money is taken away, it would be a crisis, definitely, for public safety in our city. We need to look at the greater picture and understand what our responsibility is.
The special meeting is slated for 9 a.m. Friday. CenterPoint Energy saw a modest increase in consumer ratings from 2024 to 2025. That's according to a recent report from the American Customer Satisfaction Index. News 88.7's Natalie Weber tells us more about the findings.
CenterPoint's ratings likely improved due to fewer outages in the first half of 2025. That's according to Forrest Morgeson, Director Emeritus of Research at the American Customer Satisfaction Index. The company's ratings suffered in 2024 after a derecho and a hurricane left Houstonians without power for days.
So improved, reliability like that is going to drive stronger customer satisfaction, particularly in an industry like this one, where electricity is one of those things we don't notice until we don't have it.
CenterPoint's customer satisfaction rating increased 3%, bringing the company in line with the national average for electric companies. I'm Natalie Weber, News 88.7.
Taking a check of your weather, partly sunny today with a high of 83 degrees, partly cloudy tonight with a low of 71. Right now, partly cloudy, 76 degrees on the UH campus. For more news and information, go to our webpage, houstonpublicmedia.org. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Thinkorswim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now your hosts for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
Well, hello. It is what day of the week is this?
Today is April 14th, 2026. And thank you for joining us. We even have somebody joining us from Arizona.
Oh, that's cool. Welcome. And if you wonder, how does Celeste know that? I'm guessing because they're all over there on YouTube. Our wonderful YouTubers join us and watch worldwide. The other day we had someone watching from Greece.
We did.
So join us there.
Yes.
Easy to do. Okay, so here's my big news of the day. And I was joking with myself about, because I have conversations with myself. I thought it'd be very funny if an evening anchor did what I'm about to do and say, top story of the day will interest none of you but me, and I'm going to report it anyway. Would you still watch that newscast?
Maybe, but okay, shoot.
Mine is, they have just announced that Eurovision, the Eurovision Song Contest, is going to stream live on YouTube. So anyone can watch it anywhere in the world, especially in the U.S. You can watch it just on YouTube.
I love that. And so, Eurovision really has created a community, and so have we. We want to thank you for joining us on Houston Public Media. And, one of the things that we are in right now is we are in our spring radio pledge drive, and we are committed to the community, and that's really what we're all about. And so we want to remind you that you can call 888-909-0887 to donate, or you can also go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You can also just go to houstonpublicmedia.org, and when you get there, I don't know, they always tell us, say /donate. I think when you go to our website, the first thing you encounter is a box that says donate.
Okay, so Ernie, we can go to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or 888-909-0887. But if you're watching Eurovision and you want to vote,
very nice of you to take us back there.
Do
Good
that.
Because I jumped the gun and didn't get to our pitching. Actually, I don't know how you're going to do it on YouTube. There is a world vote.
That's cool.
So the entire world can vote if you're not a country for Eurovision. And for all of you who are wondering what in the world I'm even talking about, or now Celeste and I, because I've dragged her into this isn't happening till May 16th. We'll have plenty of time to explain it. It's a big song contest. I talk about it every year. We'll get to it more. The big news was just that they just announced yesterday that they are going to be streaming live on YouTube.
I mean, I think that's the way media is moving. Oscars are going that way. I got my first taste of Eurovision. My dad worked in Scotland for a few years.
Oh, you already knew.
And I was there in college, and I would visit him often. And my parents, they both lived there for a couple of years. And I would watch Eurovision, and I remember just being like, what is this? This is fascinating. So I love that you are kind of that Euro, you got that Euro flair, Ernie.
Yeah, well, thank you. And the reason I'm even mentioning is because I'm not going to be here on Thursday, which is our current obsessions. And so I squeezed in an obsession real quick today.
I love that.
There you go. Anyway, we have got a really busy show today. A lot is coming up. And we talked about this a while ago, but Fleet Week is on, and it's happening. And we're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. But there's so much more going on in the world. So Celeste, start us off. What's in the headlines?
Tensions between the state and the city of Houston are escalating over immigration policy, and now millions in funding could be on the line. In a letter sent Monday, Governor Greg Abbott warned Mayor John Whitmire that the state may pull $110 million in public safety grants. The threat follows Whitmire's support of a newly passed ordinance aimed at limiting cooperation between the Houston Police Department and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. City leaders say the stakes are high. Whitmire called the situation a crisis, warning after losing the funding could impact police and fire services, homeland security efforts, and even preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The policy led by council members Alejandra Salinas and Edward Pollard and Abby Kamen bars officers from detaining individuals over civil immigration warrants and removes a requirement that police wait up to 30 minutes for ICE agents to arrive. So what does this political standoff mean for Houston, and how likely is the state to follow through on its threats? And joining us now is Houston Public Media reporter Dominic Anthony Walsh. Dominic Anthony, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me.
I guess I would start with, and help me with what you know in this regard, that these council members would not have moved forward, this vote would not have been taken if somebody from a legal point of view hadn't looked to see if it was legitimately okay for them to make this move. Am I right in that assumption, or was it a policy, a belief, a thought that just moved forward without that kind of vetting?
All policies go through a legal review prior to being placed on the city council agenda. This one was actually revised slightly due to feedback from the city's legal department. So yes, it did go through that review, and the city attorney determined that it was lawful.
Wow. So then the governor penalizing the city because it did something he didn't want. Is that a fair way to characterize this?
So the governor's office argues that the city is going against the guidelines of public safety grants that it had agreed to. Attorney General Ken Paxton also argues that the city has violated state law. So there are conflicting claims between the state government and the city of Houston on the legality of this policy.
I guess I'm just caught in the idea that you're punished by losing funding, which is far-reaching. Has precedent been established in doing behaviors like this, or are these new moves that are coming from the state capitol?
The city of Houston and the state government here in Texas have a long history of jousting.
Right.
Notably, after Hurricane Harvey, there were billions of dollars on the table in recovery funds, and initially, the state's general land office withheld funding from Houston entirely. That led to protracted litigation. One of Mayor John Whitmire's pitches during his campaign was he would help to moderate tensions with the state government due to his 5 decades of experience in the Texas legislature. This is really the first kind of rupture in that relationship during his time in office.
So, Dominic, I'm curious how usual or unusual it is for the state to potentially threaten to pull funding based on a city policy.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of a situation directly analogous to this.
Mm-hmm.
Houston also is the only city that we know of that's faced this particular threat, despite the city of Austin and the city of Dallas having slightly different but parallel policies.
Mm-hmm.
I did ask the governor's office why only Houston was targeted, and a spokesperson said the governor expects all local governments, cities or counties, to cooperate with ICE, and that creative efforts by local governments to get around the obligation are unacceptable.
How do you resolve a situation like this? City Council has moved forward, voted for this. the governor is saying, well, we're not going to give you any money. How do you then negotiate this through? It's obviously something that has taken precedence in the mind of a lot of Republican and conservative elected officials. And here is a total opposite. It's not like they're in the weeds about some little bits of it. They are definitely splitting from it. How do they then resolve this situation?
Well, as we heard on the newscast at the top of the hour, Mayor John Whitmire has called a special meeting of the city council for Friday at 9 a.m. And Whitmire is pushing to repeal the policy that would meet the 1-week deadline set out by the governor's office for the city to walk back this policy.
You know, it's interesting because when we look at this from the public safety impact, I'm curious if, Dominic, if you've heard anything from local area police officers or, even fire officials saying that, privately or publicly, kind of what is the sentiment and reaction from these departments that are being effectively are stuck in the middle of this?
Yeah, so we have a request out to the police union for comment, and we haven't heard back just yet. When it comes to the impact on the public safety departments, this is something that Mayor John Whitmire pointed directly to. He said the potential loss of state funding poses real challenges for the Houston police and fire departments and will impact public safety services across the city, the 2026 FIFA World Cup preparations, and the Homeland Security Department. So it's definitely top of mind for Whitmire's administration. I also stopped by City Hall earlier and chatted with the chair of the City Council's Public Safety Committee, Amy Peck. We heard from her in the newscast at the top of the hour, and she says that if this funding is lost, it would be a real crisis for public safety in Houston.
Okay, this may be a little soap opera-y in my head of thinking this in these terms, but it was kind of surprising, I thought, from where I sit, that John Whitmire signed on to this so quickly in the beginning of it all. Could it be that there was belief or understanding that there would be pushback at the state level, and by initially supporting it and then stepping in now to say we should revise this, it was have your cake and eat it too from Whitmire, or not really?
It's tough to speculate on that, but Mayor John Whitmire did support the ordinance, and what he said was that he believed it was codifying HPD's policies. There's a little bit of tension between that perspective and the fact that, the department announced last month that officers would wait 30 minutes for ICE. Mayor John Whitmire and the city legal department said, in fact, officers even then were expected to release people once the lawful purpose of a traffic stop was ended. So in their eyes, it was codifying the policy. In terms of the three-dimensional chess that you kind of describe, I think it's tough to know. Yeah. But yes, he did initially support what was proposed last week, and now after the state pushback, he is calling for it to be walked back.
I apologize if this has already been addressed, but trying to really get a good handle on this, and we've talked about it a few different days here on the show already with different folks. From the state's point of view, if they put up a policy, a legal policy about how police forces, detention are supposed to happen in the state, cities have to follow that, or are cities independent to be able to set their own policies for their police? And a lot of times we know federal rides over state, state over city, but in the situation of public safety, who has final say on what the officers do in the streets?
This is directly addressed by state law. Senate Bill 4, which passed in 2017, explicitly prohibited municipalities from curtailing collaboration or coordination with ICE. So under state law, it is expressly prohibited. Now, the argument is whether this particular measure in Houston actually runs afoul of that state law. And like we've been talking about, there are conflicting perspectives on that.
Dominic, I'm also curious. You mentioned how Dallas, we've seen this in Austin, slight different types of policy, but pretty much in line with what's happening here in Houston. Do you think that Houston's policy seemed a little bit more aggressive? Did it seem different from some of the other cities that maybe perhaps are not being looked at so closely by the governor?
Not at all. Let's take Dallas as an example. In Dallas, police officers are not allowed to wait for ICE, And they also have discretion over whether or not to even contact ICE.
Wow.
Now, that identical policy was initially proposed here in Houston: officer discretion and no waiting for ICE. The city's legal department determined that giving officers discretion would run afoul of the state law that we mentioned earlier. So that provision was stripped from the ordinance. And what passed was simply the prohibition on officers waiting for ICE. So in that sense, it doesn't go as far as the policy in Dallas.
And then, I'm sorry, but where's the policy in Dallas stand today? Is the governor pulling money there too?
So the governor has not publicly announced, the city of Dallas has not publicly announced any sort of fight in the way that we've seen in Houston. Last month, Attorney General Ken Paxton did announce an investigation into Dallas's stated approach to immigration enforcement. And on Friday, the Attorney General announced the same in Houston.
I'm curious if we know of, Dominic, and I mean, I don't expect you to necessarily know exactly this, but are we seeing the type of same ICE activity in other cities that we are in Houston?
So we know that in Houston, when it comes to coordination between the police department and ICE, HPD, according to their leadership, turned over 87 people to Immigration and Customs Enforcement last year. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason we know that is department leadership confirmed that after a series of Houston Chronicle reports revealed ramped up coordination between HPD and ICE. In other cities, there hasn't been as much investigative reporting by outlets like the Chronicle looking into this coordination. As far as I know, the police departments have not publicly addressed how much interaction there is. So it's hard to know when it comes to what this policy is addressing, which is coordination between the local police department and ICE.
Well, thank you, Dominic Anthony Walsh, for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Happy to do it.
Thank you.
And if you'd like to follow more of Dominic Anthony Walsh's reporting, you can head to HoustonPublicMedia.org. But coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to find out about the plans for Houston's first Fleet Week with organizer Reda Hicks. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
What you hear today on this show is built on daily work, staying close to what's happening in Houston, following the stories that matter, taking the time to get it right. So you can trust what you hear, and we respect that you understand the value in that. But it takes steady support to keep this station going. So we're asking you right now to give to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And I want to take a moment really quickly just to also say thank you, because thank you for giving monthly, because you really are improving life in the greater Houston area, because your monthly gift provides essential news, creative solutions to our problems, and an important space to talk with others in a civil way, like on Hello Houston. So thank you for your monthly gift at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or pick up the phone. 888-909-0887.
You're listening to Houston Public Media right now, and that's important because this station exists for one reason. Listeners like you. Not big companies, not advertisers. People like you make it happen. When you give, you're the reason this station is here. It's your choice. You support keeps the programs, the news, the conversation. Hello Houston, Houston Matters, all of the national programming right here and alive. If you want Houston Public Media to keep being here for you, give now at HoustonPublicMedia.org or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
Okay, hear me out. Here's something you should know. Houston Public Media cares. Ernie and myself care for you so much about serving you and this community that we added another local show just for Houston. And it's called
Hello Houston.
Every weekday, you hear voices from across the city, neighbors sharing their stories, conversations about what's happening in your community, and everyday moments that make Houston feel like home. So make your gift right now at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
You know, we've only got a few more minutes in this particular break, and so we ask you to go and make that call. Do it right now. Let us hear from you and show your support, especially around a show you love, Hello Houston. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or 888-909-0887.
I'm Robin Young. Many analysts, including our own.
Meet Theo Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
I'm here now.
That starts today at 1 o'clock.
Starting in the 1950s, there was a push to get meat onto Americans' plates at every meal.
So you would have breakfast with maybe perhaps sausage offered. You'd have lunch where it would be deli meat sandwiches, and you'd have dinner that would center over a large cut of meat.
The hidden forces behind our everyday decisions. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
The TED Radio Hour is on tonight at 10 o'clock.
You're listening to Hello Houston, where the voices, issues, and ideas that shape our city come together. From immigration to education, from local elections to cultural conversations, this show dives deep.
And it only happens because listeners like you choose to give. Right now, during our fall campaign, we're asking for your support.
If this show matters to you, take the next step and make your gift at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
Support comes from Pearland, Texas, a community supporting innovation in business, science, healthcare, energy, and inspiring their citizens. More on innovation happening in Pearland at pearlandedc.com. Pearland, innovation lives here. Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from CertaPro Painters, offering residential and commercial painting services, from color consultations to full project management. Estimates and more at CertaPro.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
Fleet Week is coming to Houston. The event, running from April 15th through the 22nd, will mark the first time a Texas city has hosted this long-standing naval tradition, bringing U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard vessels, and more than 1,000 service members to the Port of Houston and Galveston area. The week is part of the nationwide America 250 celebration and will include ship tours, community events, and opportunities to meet the men and women who serve. Joining us now to talk more about what to expect is Reda Hicks, the co-chair of Fleet Week Houston, and Margaret Kidd, the department chair of logistics and supply chain at San Jacinto College, and is also a special advisor for the Houston Maritime Center and Museum. Reda and Margaret, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I've got a dumb question right off the bat. How many people are we expecting in town, and where are they all going to stay? Are they staying on their ships? Are they coming into our hotels? Where are they all?
Both and, Ernie. So we have 3 ships that are coming, bringing on them something like 1,200 service members. We also have service members that are coming over air and also driving from several different installations around the state. And then we expect to have visitors from all over the state coming in for the weekend festivities as well. So some will stay on the ships, but many of them will be in hotels all over the city.
So that's going to make a big impact.
Oh, yeah.
It is, yes.
Take us back a little bit, because Fleet Week was supposed to happen, then it didn't, and now it's back on. And we're very excited that it's here. But talk to us a little bit about what happened there.
Well, we were planning to have our very first Fleet Week in November. Unfortunately, the government shutdown prevented the Navy and the Marine Corps from being able to participate in the original festivities that we'd planned. As a city, we reached out to the services and said, hey, we can't do our first Fleet Week halfway. Can we postpone? And we were granted the ability to postpone to April so that we're able to have the inaugural Fleet Week that we really wanted to be able to host, which is very exciting because there were 2 other fall Fleet Weeks that unfortunately didn't get rescheduled.
Ooh.
So we are the outlier, and we're very happy to be.
Oh,
okay, give me a little history of Fleet Week. You hear the term, you think, What is it? Where did it come from? What is its purpose?
Well, the first Fleet Week was actually hosted in New York, I believe, in the 1940s. The one that New York has now has been consecutively happening for over 4 decades. Over that time, they've added several California cities, a couple of Florida ones. This is the first time that Texas has been put on the map. And what it is a dialogue, the largest dialogue the Sea Services has with the communities that it serves. They bring their ships, they bring their service members, they bring all of their know-how to educate us. And in turn, we put together all kinds of different activities to show them what it's like to live, work, and play in our city. Because what we hope is when those men and women take off the uniform, they wind up making Houston home.
Oh, I love that. You know, Margaret, oftentimes you're here with us and we're talking tariffs and economy, but talk to us a little bit about the logistics perspective. You know, what does it take to bring Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard vessels into the Port of Houston and coordinate, you know, these type of events?
Well, Celeste, that's a great question. I mean, obviously, running the logistics and supply chain program at San Jac, I have a little background in that area. This just takes an enormous amount of collaboration between stakeholders, whether it's the city, local nonprofits such as the Maritime Museum, elected officials, industry. I mean, some of the events that we're having are being sponsored by local industry, and so it really it's just an incredible opportunity to showcase what Houston is capable of. We collaborate well.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea too. We always think of it as it's coming here to show us the fleet, but actually we get a chance to show off our city back to them. And one true jewel in our city is the Maritime Museum, which some people may not be familiar with. I think it's amazing. Talk a little about the museum just to help people know what we already have.
Well, the museum's a very special place in my heart. I've had a relationship as a student over a decade ago to being on the board of trustees and being the president when we launched back in August to our new location on East River. You know, we have an educational mission, and it's so exciting to be back where, you know, when you think about Houston's origins on Buffalo Bayou, it's in the east end of Houston, near downtown, and that's where we are. That's where Port Houston's new executive offices are located, and I would describe our architecture as modern, industrial, light and airy, and it's a great experience for families. In fact, I brought a flyer. We have, for Fleet Week, we have a family day on Saturday that's free for the public from 10 to 5. And, you know, we are honored to be welcoming some VIPs this evening from the city and senior Navy officials and local dignitaries. And then we have a special lecture that we will be doing next week with one of the senior Navy officials called Maritime Tuesday. And we'll be looking at global shipping lanes, but not the Middle East, okay?
Yeah.
Right? Let's just clarify that
gets
piece.
a little complicated right now.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated. But our events are made possible through some really generous sponsors like Energy Transfer, Orion Holdings, Targa Resources, West Gulf Maritime Association, Suderman and Young, Midway Properties, and East River Houston. So we're blessed. I think folks that come and visit us will enjoy the experience and learn a little bit about Houston's history and all the maritime opportunities that exist for jobs.
And that's what I was going to ask you, Rita. If I remember correctly, the last time you were on the show talking about Fleet Week, you mentioned something about how, you know, Houston is a big hub for veterans. And you also mentioned just a second ago how you're hoping that we get to show off our city to service members. Why do you think Houston is so attractive to veterans or service members once they come out of the service?
Because when you take off the uniform, you're looking for a place where you can really settle and dig in and find community, not just for the service member, but for the whole family. And this is the kind of place where, you know, whatever you're looking for whenever you get out of the military, whether it's higher education or licensing or a job or, educational opportunities for your spouse or your kids. Houston has all of that. It also has a very affordable cost of living. It's a place that's easy to plug into. We are very welcoming to outsiders. I mean, you become a Houstonian by saying you're a Houstonian, and that's not true everywhere. And so, the military moves a lot by word of mouth. And when you have service members who live here and are happy, they tell their friends. And it's clear in the numbers, right? We actually, in the last year or so, surpassed LA County as the county that has the most veteran families in the country.
Wow.
And it's no secret for any of us who live here. So that's part of what we want to showcase for folks here, and why the calendar has everything from industry roundtables to job fairs, higher ed showcases, and also a lot of fun, because April is the month of the military child, and we have so many military kids in this city. We are being very intentional about making sure all of our public events are free, family-friendly, and open to the public.
When you talk about that, too, I think about a lot of folks will go to, the cost of throwing something like this. Talk about the flip side of it, the income it brings into the city, have an event like this.
Absolutely. Well, we talked a little bit about the hotel rooms already.
Right, yeah.
We anticipate tens of thousands of people coming in for the weekend events in particular, but across the calendar. They'll come here, they'll visit our restaurants, they'll visit our bars, they'll visit our shops. And that's not only the Texans coming to visit, but these service members have what are called Liberty opportunities. So they have time off in our city. There's actually a Liberty route that's taking them to different neighborhoods in our communities, and they are going to be eating and shopping and enjoying our entertainment. They're going to be going to our sporting venues. In fact, 550 of them will be at the Astros game tomorrow night for Fleet Week night at the ballpark. And then
awesome.
they'll be at the Dynamo the following Wednesday. And actually the day before that, they'll be at the Rice UH baseball game. So it's not going to be hard to find service members to spend time with, and they're all going to be spending money along the way.
Yeah, that's great.
And we did get a question, a text sent in. What ships are slated to be at Fleet Week? That's CK from Magnolia.
Great question. We anticipate having the USS Kearsarge, which is a big deck. It will be based at Bayport, because as I mentioned the last time I talked to you guys, the largest Navy ships can't go under our Beltway 8 bridge. So the big one will be out in Bayport. And then we will have the USS Minneapolis-St. Paul and the USS St. Louis up at City Dock. And we will have public tours available Thursday through Tuesday for people to be able to go visit those two ships. The buses will launch from Post Houston downtown, and FleetWeekHouston.com has the information about how to get in the digital queue for those opportunities.
Okay, so I know you've addressed some of it in this answer, but for folks listening, people like Celeste with kids want to come out and experience this. Yeah. What's the best way to navigate? See, I used the word navigate. Like that.
Pun intended, right?
Yes. What's the best way to navigate all of this, and where to find the most exciting, inspiring, what you can't miss events?
Well, all of the public events are on FleetWeekHouston.com, so you can go and look at those and see what interests you. There are performances by the Navy Band all over Houston. Most of them are free in parks, and there's one in the Sculpture Garden at the Fine Arts Museum. If music is your thing, that's where to be. We also have the Expo happening all day Saturday and all day Sunday at Post Houston downtown, and that's going to be a festival-style event that mixes visiting service members and their installations with pieces of Houston culture like the rodeo and several of our sports teams. There are also large fun events. Margaret mentioned that she has an early day event on Saturday at East River. You can walk on over to the Esplanade because the largest party of Fleet Week is happening in the East End. It's their block party that afternoon from 3 to 9, and there'll be mariachis and luchadors, wrestling Marines, and all sorts of fun stuff happening over there. There's a similar celebration happening the next day in LaPorte at Sylvan Beach. The Marines are going to do some demonstrations. That's going to be amazing. And if you're into flight, the Lone Star Flight Museum is going to be playing host to all of the helicopters and jets that are visiting when they're not in the air. So any of those things are going to be fun. They're going to be family friendly. They're going to be places that are going to be just fantastic to experience while the folks are here. And then, of course, basically any of the games you want to go to over the next week for any of the sports teams, there's going to be something Fleet Week about it.
Yeah.
Now, Margaret, I think you touched a little bit about this. When we think about Fleet Week, we think about the ships, and we're talking about, the impact and, really the visual aspect of it. But I'm curious about what this could really truly mean for Houston's maritime industry and the workforce pipeline. I mean, the talent that y'all are going to be seeing.
Well, this is a pretty magical moment for me as I'm tasked with launching the first logistics and supply chain bachelor's degree at a community college in the state of Texas.
Oh, wow.
And so San Jack's a great place. They take their position along the Houston Ship Channel community very seriously as we really focus on social and economic mobility. And supply chain and logistics has a 17% growth rate for careers. I'll be at the expo at the Post on Sunday, and happy to share more information about career paths there, but there's a world of opportunities.
And, I think that that's such good news because everything that we're hearing right now when we look at other industries like manufacturing and, we're looking at construction, we hear about that the workforce is in a deficit. And so to hear that, this is in a 17+% growth, I think is really positive, right?
One of the highest growth rates of any sector. And the beauty of supply chain and logistics is you can work in any industry. So when you take Houston, the fourth largest city in the country, and, we're so diversified, and you have oil and gas and petrochemical, you have manufacturing, you have e-commerce, and you have healthcare. So there's so many options.
Yeah. Excellent.
We have the legacy of having been a port city. And I was just watching a video the other day online talking about the storm of 1900 and how it shifted everything in the city and how without the waterways, we wouldn't be here today. As we move into the future, do we see that as the answer for our community? Is that something we still need to build into as a center of global trade and with the waterways, or are we moving away from that when it comes to the maritime ambitions?
Well, that's a great question. The city of Houston wouldn't exist if we didn't have this port, and that the Houston Ship Channel generates over $1 trillion in economic value nationally. Over 3 million jobs. Texas has been the largest export state for over 22 years, and a lot of that's attributed to the business climate in Texas. So the jobs are there, and we're happy at the museum that we have Port Houston as our neighbor on the East River property. It creates some real collaboration opportunities, but we should be proud of the work that's happening on the Houston Ship Channel. I think a lot of people aren't familiar with the maritime industry, and this is an opportunity to go out and learn, right? Yeah. Come down to the museum, come over to Post Houston, go tour the ships.
And Rita, where can people find out more information if they want to grab that?
They can find more information at www.fleetweekhouston.com.
Reda Hicks is the co-chair of Fleet Week Houston, and Margaret Kidd is the department chair of logistics and supply chain at San Jacinto College and a special advisor for the Houston Maritime Center and Museum. Rita and Margaret, thank you for joining us today, for taking time because y'all are going to be busy.
Thank you.
Get your naps in now.
Yeah. Coming up, a local nonprofit is hosting street soccer tournaments ahead of the World Cup games. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
There's a reason you come here for news. You know what you're getting. Reporting that stays focused on Houston, like you just heard. Information that's been checked before it reaches you, like you heard with Dominic a little earlier. That doesn't happen by accident. And you understand the value in that. But it takes steady support to keep that kind of work, this kind of station going. So right now we're taking a moment to ask you to do something very important, to give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887.
And again, thank you for donating on a monthly basis. Your gift of $30 or $50 a month gives Houston Public Media the kind of long-term support we need. Because of your gift, we can stay independent and accountable only to you. Your monthly gift makes all the difference at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or pick up that phone, 888-909-0887.
You know, you're listening to Houston Public Media, and when you give, something changes. It's no longer just a station. It's yours. It's your station. It's your voice in what's happening here. Your support makes programs possible. It helps reporters cover the stories that truly matter. It keeps this community newsroom strong. If you feel ownership of this station right now, we ask you to please give or increase your donation or renew your donation at HoustonPublicMedia.org or by calling 888-909-0887.
When something serious happens in your neighborhood, you need clear answers. That's when your newsroom gets to work for you. When a plane crashed in Galveston a few months ago, our Galveston Bureau reporter, Juliana Washburn, was there immediately, activated, covering the story. She spoke with witnesses. She followed the investigation. And that's the kind of coverage you deserve. So go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Parents' anxiety.
Meet Damola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Damola to learn more about his ride.
To have some autonomy. That's next time on Think.
You can hear Think. It's coming up tonight at 11 o'clock.
Why give to Houston Public Media? Because you're listening to Hello Houston right now, a show that gives you more than just headlines. It provides context, community, and connection.
You hear from experts, local leaders, and everyday people. You get the complete picture, and that only happens with your support.
This journalism is powered 100% by listeners. That means you make it possible.
If this show matters to you, take the next step. Give now at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
Support comes from the Grand 1894 Opera House, presenting The Cat in the Hat, a live stage adaptation of the Dr. Seuss story, featuring the cat, Thing 1 and Thing 2, April 18th, thegrand.com. Support comes from Rice University's Master of Interdisciplinary Studies, a program for working adults designed to strengthen communication and critical thinking skills within a community of diverse learners. Details at gls.rice.edu. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Novotny and Company, offering commercial and residential property tax protests for 39 years. The deadline to file a protest is May 15th. Info and online filing at novotnycompany.com. Support comes from Discovery Green, celebrating Earth Day Saturday, April 25th from 12 to 5 p.m. This year's theme, Our People, Our Planet, showcases interactive art and opportunities to get involved. DiscoveryGreen.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
The Divine Art Coalition is an area nonprofit dedicated to preserving the city's cultural legacy while also creating a space for artists to interact with the public and each other. Created by a group of community members looking to build a creative hub within Houston's East End neighborhood, the nonprofit uses community events as a platform to empower individuals to support the overall growth of the community. Much like a series of street soccer tournaments they've been hosting recently, which are all building toward a 2-day weekend tournament later in June. To tell us more about the group, he's very excited about it. Tell us more about the group and their street soccer tournaments. We're joined by Divine Art Coalition founders Diego Noria and Raquel Natalicchio. Natalicchio. Diego, Raquel, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
We're
much.
excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited.
I could tell your hands were going when we talked about it.
So, Diego, when you say preserving cultural legacy, what does that mean to you all, and what does it mean to Houston's East End?
Well, specifically how it's always kind of, the entire art and graffiti scene's always kind of been in that neighborhood, and now it's kind of been more, I don't want to say it's been put more on the platform now, but it's definitely more now accepted. Back then, it wasn't always as accepted as it should. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. It's kind of now seen in a different way, But we kind of come from the entire world of only working specifically with artists, and now the street soccer events they just go hand in hand. Especially
that was my question for Raquel is the connection between when I think of street art and artists. I don't think soccer, and I think that's an interesting merge. Talk to me a little about that.
Well, I think when we think about anything that has the word street ahead of it, there's usually some kind of like cultural element that goes after it. So street art, street soccer, street basketball, like these are all things that make up a community. And especially like these are the things that we go outside to do, things that typically don't cost money to do, right? As long as you have a ball. Well, I can't say that for the graffiti because paint is pretty expensive these days. But I think these are all expressions of a community. And usually in communities, especially like Second Ward, like taking to the streets to go do something is typically kind of the best way to do that.
Can you talk to us a little bit about a moment when you really saw it come together, where you saw the art with the sport connecting?
Well, I think he was really passionate about that with FIFA Street. He was like a little kid being like, we have to do this in real life. We have to do this in real life. So I think he can speak to that moment.
What is FIFA Street? Talk to us.
I have no idea how much time we have. But basically, I guess the best way to correlate the things is, so I purchased this car wash out in the neighborhood about 4 years ago. And it became a neighborhood tradition for every 6 months. We would shut the block down and bring in like 18 to 20 artists to paint the entire block. Now, while doing this project, I really stepped away from my friends. So 4 years later, now I'm looking to sell the place and started kind of reconnecting with my old friends. And one of the first versions of that was soccer and una carne asada. So it was just kind of perfect. But we were looking for where to just go kind of play with the ball and not be in the street.
Yeah.
So we got really, really, really close with our friends at the HAM, the Harrisburg Art Museum. And they said, well, you can come play in the tunnel. And the tunnel was filled with graffiti. And we were there. She saw it. I saw it. It was beautiful. And my brain immediately went into FIFA Street.
And for those that don't know, carne asada is like a barbecue.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
barbecuing.
Yeah, so we showed up to the HAM, the Harrisburg Art Museum. We played street soccer in this tunnel filled with graffiti and everything. And we came home. We started just the asada part. And I was telling her, I was like, this today was a lot like FIFA Street. It's a video game that hasn't been around for a very long time. But there was no professional ball players in this video game. It was all just customized street players with like these cool outfits, and just you would have to unlock the street. I mean, the professional players, and it's the correlation has just been incredible and eye-opening.
And so, do you see people coming out who want to play soccer and then end up staying for the art? Are you seeing artists coming out wanting to paint and then playing, or is it there's both?
So there's not a whole lot of the artists that play and not a whole lot of the players that paint. However, there does exist the one, like, for example, Stoic is one of the best ones. Stoic, I don't even know Stoic's real name, so it's probably better. But Stoic is one of those huge ones. He is a great ball player and an incredible painter and a skater. So there's also a skate park in the back of the Harrisburg Art Museum. But he's it's perfect. But there's also a whole lot of like neighborhood people that just come out.
No, I was going to say, as we've said, so matches are already happening. People are already playing. What are we seeing out on the street, and how is this going to culminate with this tournament?
Well, I think what to the question you just asked, I think also like what we're really good at and what we pay attention to and what we hope to always have the intention of doing is responding to needs. Right, the needs of a community. And so when people started really just showing up, like when there was nothing offered other than a ball and a game and literally bragging rights, because we didn't have cash prizes when we started. But what we did notice is that people just wanted this and needed this. And so the things that you can expect are the things that people love and have always loved from all of our events. And, so it's like showcasing classic cars, murals being painted live, local businesses being a part of it too, like whether it's through vending or through offering a special activation, or we've always had galleries or art galleries, photography galleries that are very much trying to highlight the neighborhood even outside of just that one event. So it's like really about including the neighborhood as much as possible through every avenue possible, and making sure that everyone from everywhere kind of feels seen and has something to touch base with, and then be opened up to a new thing, right? So if you come for the art, you're going to fall in love with the soccer. If you come for the soccer, now you're exposed to art. And so it's about making sure everybody has access to all the different worlds, right?
And what would you say makes the Houston's East End neighborhood really unique from other areas in Houston, in the city?
It's extremely colorful, right? But also, I mean, the obvious is that it's a predominantly a Hispanic neighborhood, you know, and those things, not saying that only Hispanic people or brown people are artists or ball players, but they just very much in that neighborhood, you know, it's the amount of people whose response was, this reminds me a lot of my youth, because it really was that. We'd play, sometimes, if we were lucky, we'd play in a cul-de-sac where there was no car traffic.
Right.
But it wasn't always like that. It depended whose house you were outside of, and then we just, you know, we'd have to kind of conform to the traffic. And I really don't have a great answer for why it is that Houston's East End is it. It just feels closer to home for me personally, but I feel like Raquel might have.
Let me ask this quickly, though, before we run out of time. So people who want to get involved, either to play or to come out and see what's going on, what do we do?
Please go to our Instagram, the Divine Art Coalition. That's where we're most active. But honestly, just come out. Come out and meet us. Like, become our friends. Like, I'm challenging all the players out there to come out. Like,
about getting friends back. It seems like that's a big motivator here.
Yeah, I mean, we're a community. You know, like we're not just here to don't just come to attend an event. Come to be a part of our community.
Oh, we love that. Diego, Noria and Raquel Natalicchio are the founders of the Divine Art Coalition. Diego and Raquel, thank you both for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Coming up, we're going to continue discussing today's top headlines. We're also going to talk with Houston City Council District C candidate Nick Hellyar. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
This station doesn't just happen in the background. There's real work behind it every day. People paying attention to what's happening here, following the stories that affect your life, taking the time to get it right. And you know, that matters. But it only continues with your help and ongoing support. So right now, we're taking a moment to ask you to do something very important. That is give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by giving us a call at 888-909-0887. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. Thank you for joining others across the region to make sure Houston Public Media is strong and protected during our first year without federal support. It takes all of us to do this, and thanks to your generous monthly gift, Houston Public Media will have more long-term support. So thank you for your recurring gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
You know, there's a new philosophy in media about meeting the audience where they're at. And here at Houston Public Media, you tune in and you listen for the big news and the small news. But you can get it on your drive home. You can get it on your phone. You can get it, of course, on the radio. There's so many ways. We are online. You can go to our website. We're where you're at. And the only reason we can be everywhere for you to get informed and to reach the right audiences is because listeners like you make it possible. Your support keeps this station with you wherever you go. If having us with you matters to you, please give right now at houstonpublicmedia.org or by calling 888-909-0887.
Fort Bend County is one of the fastest growing places in our region. And there are big stories happening there that affect you and your neighbors. And that's why Houston Public Media has a reporter dedicated to Fort Bend County. Melissa Enaje covers that community for you. She's reporting on topics like racial profiling and traffic stops. She's listening to residents fighting a proposed concrete plant, and she's telling the stories of people and culture across the county. All of this so that you understand what's happening where you live, right in your backyard. That kind of local reporting only happens because listeners like you support it. So stand with Melissa and the entire Houston Public Media newsroom and support the reporters working for you right now. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
It's in the name of our organization. It's in the name of our show, Houston. We are here for Houston, but we define Houston in the largest terms possible. As Celeste was just talking about Fort Bend, we have a new bureau that is opening in Galveston. We are here for you wherever you are. Now we need you to be here for us. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate, 888-909-0887.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Being an accountant is a full-time job, so when John Summit's DJ career started to take off, he had to make a choice. Spoiler alert, he's no longer an accountant.
This recent album's called Control Escape, and it's kind of overall theme is like when I broke out of the 9-to-5 world.
I'm Elsa Chang. John Summit's journey from cubicle to main stage DJ on All Things Considered from NPR News.
You can hear that today at 3 o'clock.
Support comes from Classical Theater Company, presenting Shakespeare's Othello. April 16th through May 2nd, the classic tragedy explores the evils of jealousy, misinformation, and racism. Performance details at classicaltheater.org.
Mostly sunny today. We'll get up to about 83, and then tonight more clouds move in, low near 71. Tomorrow, another partly sunny day and a high of 83. Currently, we have 79 degrees, and this is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, Pope Leo XIV has pushed back on the criticism he's received from President Trump, saying he will continue speaking out against war and promote peace and dialogue between countries. We'll discuss this and more of the top headlines of the day. I'm Celestia Sherman.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also talk with Nick Hellyar, a candidate for Houston City Council's District C, about the upcoming runoff election.
Plus, we'll also talk with Megan Green, the director of foster care for the DePelchin Children's Center, who will discuss Child Abuse Prevention Month, as well as share prevention resources and how to report abuse.
And we want to hear from you, so give us a call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Remember, you can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Some ships with links to Iran are transiting the Strait of Hormuz despite a U.S. naval blockade in place meant to prevent all maritime traffic entering and exiting Iranian ports. Here's NPR's Jackie Northam.
The Liberian flag Christiana is one of the ships, according to Kepler, a global trade intelligence provider, that crossed the Strait of Hormuz Monday evening after departing an Iranian port. Hours earlier, the U.S. military had set up its naval blockade. Several ships sanctioned by the U.S. for Iran trade, including the Rich Starry and the Elpis, also crossed the strait unimpeded by the U.S. Navy. Ships can mask their movements either by turning off their transponders or transmitting false data, known as spoofing. There are hundreds of oil tankers, container ships, and bulk carriers stuck in and around the Strait of Hormuz since the war began at the end of February. Few are willing to risk transiting the strait because of the danger. Jackie Northam, NPR News.
While the U.S. attempts to pressure Iran into agreeing to its terms for ending their conflict, it is also hosting ceasefire talks in Washington, D.C. today between Israel and Lebanon. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says he hopes a framework for peace comes out of the meeting. NPR's Kat Lonsdorf says the Lebanese government is under pressure to disarm Hezbollah.
That's because its loyalties lie with Iran, which has long funded and helped arm them. So it's really a question of how much can the Lebanese government really influence Hezbollah's actions. Israel won't agree to any deal unless there's a tangible plan with the Lebanese government for disarming Hezbollah. This has been a long-standing Israeli demand, but Hezbollah has rearmed regardless and has been firing near constant rockets into northern Israel during this war.
NPR's Kat Lonsdorf reporting. A central tool in America's intelligence apparatus will expire next Monday if Congress fails to renew it. NPR's Eric McDaniel has more.
Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act allows the government to collect the electronic communications of foreign nationals located outside of the United States without a warrant. And according to the government, the trove of information collected through the program informs a huge portion of the president's daily intelligence briefing. Sometimes, though, the surveillance targets communicate with Americans, and some lawmakers of both parties want to require a targeted court order before the government can peruse those specific calls, texts, and emails. The government says that reform would hamstring surveillance and jeopardize national security, and that process reforms enacted in the last few years are already leading to dramatically fewer searches. Eric McDaniel, NPR News, Washington.
Los Angeles school employees are not on strike after all, but got pretty close. A union representing support staff says it reached a tentative contract agreement early this morning on raises and other major gains with the district. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Fallout from the city of Houston putting curbs on ICE operations and the potential for blowback from the governor. Houston Mayor John Whitmire now wants to repeal an ordinance he supported last week. The measure prohibits police officers from detaining people or prolonging traffic stops due to civil immigration warrants. Whitmire's reversal comes after Governor Greg Abbott threatened to revoke $110 million in public safety grants to the city. Councilmember Julian Ramirez also voted for the measure, but he has taken a position on whether or not to repeal it.
Yeah, there's been more citations issued because, again, we have to be accountable. You offer all the love and the help you can and all the hope, trying to get them to a better place. But, again, a lot of them don't even know their own perilous situation.
Whitmire called a special meeting to consider repealing the ordinance at 9 a.m. Friday. A 20-year-old man, possibly from the Houston area, has been charged after police say he threw a Molotov cocktail at the home of a major tech executive in California last Friday. Federal agents say Daniel Morena Gama was caught on surveillance outside OpenAI CEO Sam Altman's home in San Francisco. Nobody was injured. Gama was detained a short while after throwing the device. A large law enforcement presence was seen at the home in the Woodlands yesterday, where ABC 13 reports Gama lives. He faces a range of charges from attempted murder to arson. In sports, the Astros' losing streak stands at 8 after Monday's 6-2 sweep by the Seattle Mariners. Stros open up at home tonight against Colorado. First pitch is at 7:10. Weather mostly cloudy with a high of 83 today. Right now it's mostly cloudy, 79 degrees on the UH campus. I'm Tom Perumian, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their premium travel card, Venture X. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now your hosts for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
And hello again. We are in our second hour. A quick reminder, if you've noticed, we keep popping in and out after each segment to talk a little bit about fundraising, because right now we are in our spring fundraising drive. And I've been told to let you all know this is what you always are waiting for, and we're very excited. For this next hour, it's going to be a double match. So anybody who calls in during this hour, whatever you donate, it will be doubled by a group of donors who have ponied up some cash to help make your investment go a little bit further. So if you've been thinking about becoming a member and making that donation, why not do it right now when it will go twice as far? Go to HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887. I always think it's funny when we do this during our show, because to call in to talk to us, it's a different phone number.
Yes.
I mean, we'll take your money, but that's not the number.
It's a different number. And, I often am giving out the phone number, and I always get worried that I'm going to give my own phone number, which
your own phone
I have started that. I started one time and I was like, oh, no, that's not it. But, Ernie, as we mentioned during one of the breaks and we were doing our pledge drive, we talked about how it's been a year since our funding got pulled.
Mm-hmm.
And, last year during this time, we were really concerned. We were worried. And this year, we want to tell you and let you know it's been a year and we continue to be committed to our community. We are here. We are not going anywhere. We are just as passionate about giving you information through our education, through our programming, and we're not going anywhere. So pick up that phone, 888-909-0887.
And to jump on the back of that, just as passionate as we are, we still have to fuel the machine. And we got to put the gas in the tank. And the gas here is we need donations to continue to go because we don't have that federal funding. But as Celeste said, we're here. We're staying. I love, and you'll get to our president in your topics in just a moment. But when he went out and said, NPR, PBS gone. Well, then where am I going to work every day? We are still here. We're still in your community, and we are still a place for your voice to be heard.
That's right. And, something else that you're very passionate about, Ernie, is Eurovision. And we got a very fun comment in our YouTube
what did they say?
Community. This person said, Ernie, my Greek friend turned my friends into Eurovision fans a few years back. So it's great news that the contest will stream on YouTube. If only world voters can tilt that to my favorite artist.
Well, that's what you always want. So this year, 35 songs are competing. If you go on YouTube, you can go to Eurovision Song Contest and you can see all the videos and see who are your favorite songs. But, there's also that national pride. If you're one of the 35 countries competing, you want your song to win. I'm pretty fond of the Greek song, the Greek entry this year. A lot of people aren't, but then others love it. So take a look. You know what? If you want to see the whole thing, May 16th, we're doing a live party, free, open to the public at the Montrose Country Club. Come 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll watch the whole thing live, and you'll be surrounded by a bunch of Euro fans. If you're worried what that's like, you should be. We have a great time. But anyway, we also have what's going on in our world today. Yesterday on the show, we had one of the two candidates running for City Council District C seat. The other candidate is going to be here, and he's going to talk to us in just a moment. That's Nick Hellyar, and he's also in this runoff. So the two finalists made it there, Joe Panzarella, who was on yesterday, and Nick Hellyar. We'll be hearing both sides.
And get your questions ready. Yesterday we had a lot of calls asking questions to Joe Panzarella, and have your questions ready for this candidate as well. And you can call us at 713-440-8870.
Okay, all that said, and I did hint at it, you've got the first story in the headlines, and it's a doozy.
It's a doozy. Pope Leo XIV says he's not backing down from criticism by President Trump and will keep speaking out against war. He's continuing to call for peace, dialogue, and cooperation between nations. As he kicked off an 11-day tour of Africa, the first American pope to do so, Pope Leo emphasized that ongoing global conflicts are causing serious human suffering. He said true moral leadership means pushing for alternatives to violence. His comments come as tensions grow between the Vatican and Washington over the Iran conflict. Speaking during a global peace vigil at St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope also warned that a delusion of omnipotence has fueled instability around the world and urged leaders to choose diplomacy instead of military escalation. We'd also like to note, after posting and then deleting an apparently AI-generated image depicting himself as a Jesus-like figure, President Trump told reporters he thought the picture depicted himself as a doctor. The post drew widespread criticism, including from conservatives and Catholics. Now is the time to join us on Hello Houston. Do you think Pope Leo XIV is right to keep speaking out against war, even when it puts him at odds with political leaders like President Donald Trump, or should religious figures stay out of global politics? Now is the time to join us on Hello Houston. You can call or text 713-440-8870.
I will start this off by saying my 2026 bingo card did not have a slot for the president and the Pope getting a war of words. I would have never imagined this, but I think now it doesn't matter what we could even begin to imagine. We will be surprised every single day by these things.
It's interesting, right? Because what we are seeing is, Vice President J.D. Vance, who is the highest ranking Catholic in the federal government, said on Fox News on Monday night that Pope Pope Leo XIV should stay out of American affairs. And he said, stick to matters of, what's going on in the Catholic Church, which I find ironic given the fact that on March 5th, 2026 of this year, a group of evangelical leaders gathered, around 20 evangelical leaders participated and gathered with Pastor Tom Mullins leading the spoken prayer, praying over our president and, saying that praying for God to guidance for the president, to have protection for America and for protection for armed forces during the escalating crisis in Iran. And I'm not sure you can have it both ways. You can't say, oh, we like the religious leaders that pray for us and the religious leaders that potentially are questioning our moral authority to call us out. I'm not sure it goes both ways.
My problem with this, in so many different ways, and we'll get to the tweet, the truth post of the AI-generated photo in a second. But it's like, could you be angry because the Burger King tells you to eat more burgers? That's what he does. That's his job. The Pope talking peace and religion and global peace and love. That's his job. How can we take offense at it? Of course, he is not going to be in favor of wars and conflict. That is his brand. And so for any of this to be happening is just beyond belief. And no, the Pope is not a politician, nor should he be, but he is the spiritual leader of over 1 billion people. And so, of course, he's going to say, we should love each other. That's what they do. We should not have wars. That's what they do. I'm just lost in all of this one.
But I do think that, the Pope is speaking out and he's being very smart and intelligent, and he's not taking a political stance. He's not calling out he is simply calling for peace, dialogue. And, the president's taking it very personal. And yeah.
And on the flip side of that, I do think this is a much more aggressive Pope than we're used to. But his aggression is to push forward his beliefs of peace, unity, belief in God, the stock of his trade. Yeah. And so I am thrilled to see a younger American Pope coming out and being part of the world we're in. All too often, I think the Pope is seen as locked away behind walls, out of touch with the current world. The last Pope started to make that push more toward making them more part of the current situation. And this Pope is continuing that, being younger, having come from Chicago, all of that. It gives a different flavor.
And I like that this Pope is simply saying this is above politics.
Yeah.
This is above politics.
713-440-8870. Greg from Kingwood is on the line. Greg, what's on your mind?
Hey, Ernie. In World War II, I forget, was it Pope Pius or Pope Julius? But, he was the Nazis' Pope. He didn't say anything. And he got tagged for that. And now we have a Pope who, he's not being an activist. He is doing what the Pope is supposed to do, be the moral leader of Christianity. And, so now it's like, oh, he's too outspoken. This is who Trump is. And that was not a doctor. I've never seen a doctor with a red shoulder garment.
All right. So now you're shifting over to the AI picture so people realize what you're talking about. That image of him dressed in white with the red robe over it and the hand out and the glow. It very much brings the image of Christ forward. So continue, Greg. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go to any Christian church in the neighborhood on Easter and you see the draped cross with the garment. This is him saying, I am Jesus. But the rest of us knew who Trump was 10 years ago. I would like to hear from some Christians, because the Nazis were good Christians, too. God was on their side.
Greg, thank you very much for your comments. And remember, if you have a thought, comment, want to join the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870. You were going to say something, Celeste. I felt like I kept cutting you off while you were trying to say something.
Well, again, it to me is as a Christian, it's insulting. Yeah. And I look at when we look at a vision of leadership, I look at the Pope and I think that is a man who is not afraid to call for something like peace.
Mm-hmm. You may have you may not be Catholic, so you may not follow the Pope. You may have issues with the Catholic Church and things that have happened and continue to happen within their ranks. But at the end of the day, the position of the Pope, the position of religion, is to look for our higher selves. And the spiritual leadership is different than political leadership. Mm-hmm. And to have someone like the Pope coming out and saying what he has said, I think is very much a line in what a Pope on the right path should be saying. I want to go back to the picture for a minute, and I don't know if maybe all of this has just gotten so ridiculous to me on so many levels that my response here may seem very trivial, but I guess I truly believe this, is that I don't know what bothers me more. If, in fact, Donald Trump thought, I'm going to put out a picture of me as Christ, or if this man who has the finger on the button for the nuclear war looked at that picture and thought, oh, that's a doctor. That bothers me even more if that is in fact true, because that's not a picture of a doctor.
No, and this is, to me, I see this, and this is textbook President Trump. Yeah. Putting out an image like that's going to ruffle the feathers, that's going to have everybody talking. To me, I saw it. I did think it was a little shocking on, the Greek Orthodox Easter. Mm-hmm. Last Easter, we saw him put out not last Easter, just last Sunday. On Christian Easter
as opposed to Orthodox.
We saw him put out that extremely vulgar text message or Truth Social post. Here we are putting images. To me, it's just about on par, you know. And again, 713-440-8870. Let's go to Jed from Northeast Houston. Jed, welcome to Hello Houston.
Yes, thank you.
What's on your mind, Jed?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm not Catholic, but I'm deeply offended. It's just this man have no check or balance, or unfortunately the whole image of the country is demolished in and out. He reminds me with the Egyptian pharaoh, you know. He looked down at his people, he belittled his people, he slaved them, and he promised them crumbs and little bitty here and there. And unfortunately, they obeyed him, and they followed him blindly. So this guy here... now he's blaming God. Even Mussolini and Hitler never dared to criticize or insult a Pope at that time. But he has zero balance, zero check, and you could expect anything from that loon. So even I'm a Muslim, proud to be. So in the Holy Quran it says, فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمُهُ فَأَطَعُوهُ. He belittled and looked down at his people, and they obeyed him blindly. That's what exactly Pharaoh was doing.
Jed, thank you very much for your comments on that. I quickly want to say, too, as we talk about the Pope as a religious leader, you don't have to believe in the religion. You don't have to believe in the tenets of that religion. But there's a certain amount of respect that's given to any world leader of a world world religion. And I think I just want to make sure people aren't misconstruing what we're saying and proselytizing here.
No.
But he is the leader of a billion people. Show some respect to what he does. We have one more call we want to grab. Michael from Seabrook. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I just... every time I hear your broadcast station, it's always one-sided, like saying, "Oh, well, Trump's like going to Iran." But where is the Pope and the people when the terrorists came and attacked the people there in Israel, and all of the attacks that they've done? And they're nothing but terrorists there in Iran. And the regime, you know, the way they kill their people, the way they treat the women. I lived in Saudi, so I know a little bit about how these people act. Of course, they're a different religion. They're Shiite versus the Sunnis. But still, why do y'all always just publicize one side? Oh, yeah, Trump is wrong. Oh, he's killing all these people in Iran. But remember, try and report also what happened to the Israelis, how they get attacked all the time.
Michael, thank you for calling in those comments. I think that we do have balanced reporting. We were reporting of those deaths too. I think what we're discussing right now is a sense of diplomacy and decorum more so than the political situation that is happening. The idea of putting out the image that he put out of himself looking like a Christ figure, I think says something beyond the laying blame. I think we're concerned with the imagery he is promoting.
And I'm just curious, Michael, when you saw that Truth Social post, what was your first thought or reaction?
I didn't see it. I just heard it right now in your newscast. But I mean, I don't go for that either. Yeah. But again, it's that one-sided. These Iranian people are guilty of supporting terrorist groups, and we should make a point of that. Not just, Trump's in there just killing these people for the hell of it. He's not. He's trying to make peace, actually.
Yeah. Michael, point taken. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I hope that you will listen to more of what we put out on the station and hear the balance that we work at every day at trying to give you. And I appreciate that you're listening and that you joined the conversation today. Thank you.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we're going to talk with candidate for Houston City Council's District C seat, Nick Hellyar, about the upcoming runoff election May 16th. This is News 88.7. Stay with us. Houston Public Media is here because of you. 100% of our funding comes from Houstonians like you who value independent journalism and local news that matters. And right now, your donation is doubled in memory of Cindy Weatherly. This is your chance to make twice the difference for trusted news and the stories you rely on every single day. Don't wait to make your impact. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or give us a call, 888-909-0887.
Here's some good news. You want some good news, Celeste?
I need some good news.
A new Studio Society gift just came in, and we say thank you. And that's a giving level of $125 a month or $1,500 a year. And right now, your donation is doubled. That means $100 becomes $200 to this organization. A monthly gift of $50 turns into $100 a month for an entire year. Imagine what that kind of support can do to strengthen Houston Public Media's newsroom and keep fact-based journalism freely available to everyone in Greater Houston. Don't wait. Double your investment in trusted news right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887.
And thank you for donating monthly. Houston Public Media is for the public, and you're able to listen because of the public. We're not here to benefit advertisers, big media groups, or investors. We're here for you. Your monthly gift will help Houston Public Media through our first year without federal funding. So please give monthly. How about $25 or $30 a month? Or if you have it, $125 a month. Give now and make that twice the difference. Sign up at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
You rely on Houston Public Media to keep you informed, and right now you can make your gift go twice as far. I'm informing you of that. Every donation is doubled, but only for a limited time. This is your chance to protect your right to know and make sure fact-based news is freely available to everyone in Greater Houston. Double your donation today by going simply to houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887. Do it right now. Let your impact go a little bit further. We only have so long with the double match, so if you've been waiting for an incentive to give right now, now is the time to do it.
Houston Public Media in partnership with Texas Southern.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
You make Hello Houston possible.
Support the conversations that move Greater Houston forward. Make your gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match. Metro provides bus, rail, and paratransit service and continues mobility enhancements across the region. More at ridemetro.org/Metro Now.
Houston Public Media presents the Moth Story Slam tonight at Lambert Hall. Doors open at 7 p.m. The theme of the night is Sus, stories about deception or suspicion. Tickets at houstonpublicmedia.org/The Moth.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Theater Under the Stars, looking on the bright side of life with Monty Python's Spamalot. Now on stage at the Hobby Center through April 26th. Tickets available at tuts.org.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from the Houston Chamber Choir, closing its season with an open-ish Mike Night, a curated variety show featuring pop solos and special acts by this season's friends and neighbors. More at HoustonChamberChoir.org.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from School of the Woods, founded in 1962, offering Montessori education from early childhood through grade 12. Enrollment is open now. More info at schoolofthewoods.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz Sherman.
Today we're joined by Nick Hellyar, a candidate for Houston City Council District C's seat. A small business owner and former city and state campaign worker, Hellyar is running in the upcoming runoff election. So first of all, congratulations, Nick, for making it to the runoff. And if you would like to join the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870.
You know, Nick, I asked Joe this question yesterday, and I'm curious. I'd like to ask you this exact same one. You are now in the runoff. Are there any changes that you are going to be making into this campaign?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I think the campaign, I'm so proud of the campaign that we ran in the first round, right? We put together a great coalition of labor, business organizations, former and current elected officials at the city. And, you know, I've done this work a lot in the past, and I'm extremely excited to be in the runoff. You know, we ran hard on experience, and this is a full-time job. This is a customer service job. This is, you know, when somebody calls and their trash can hasn't been picked up or they have potholes in their street, this is what that job is. And having that experience, I do think puts me in the best position to win the runoff. Most importantly, we're going into a budget cycle. Budget usually starts at the beginning or middle of May. And I'm extremely proud to be endorsed by Councilmember Sally Alcorn, who runs the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Committee. But I can hit the ground running on day one, and we're going to run hard on that again in the second round.
We talked about yesterday a bit about how within that entire pool, I guess there were 7 of you that ran, that in a lot of ways there was a lot of overlap between who believed what and all of that. So I'm curious at this point now, how do you define yourself separate from the other candidate running in this race? You're both Democrats, You're both in a lot of ways very similar. Yeah. What makes you, why should people vote for you as opposed to your opponent?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, right? There were 7 Democrats in the first round. I think 4 or 5 people had over $100,000 to spend. And I'm extremely lucky to have come out with a lot of hard work into the runoff. I think what differentiates me, again, is the experience at City Hall. And having done the job in the past, we need somebody in this role as the council member who understands what the job is and can get started on day one. I'll go back to the budget again because, you know, the mayor's going to be asking council members for budget amendments here in the next few days. This is something that I can do day one. And having worked at City Hall and the support that I've gotten from former council members, current council members, the former city controller, Chris Brown, I think it speaks a lot to what we're going to advocate for in this round.
Really quickly, we're talking about endorsements. There was a concern. We saw something come out from Anise Parker concerned on how she was represented by your campaign as having endorsed her. Yeah. Is there anything you can say about that?
Yeah, Anise, I actually used to work for Anise, and we've been friends for a long time. I was lucky enough to serve as the Southern Caucus chair for the LGBT Victory Fund when she was CEO. We've done a lot of work together. I think her statement was a clarification just to let people know that she was not endorsing in the race. And the mailer in question was speaking up my LGBT kind of cred. I've worked in the space most of my life. I'm the former vice president of the LGBT political caucus. And one side of the mailer was talking about my experience and had a picture of Anissa and I on it because I had worked with her. And on the other side was endorsements. So I think that she was just stating to the public that she wasn't endorsing, which when you're running for office, the only person she's going to be endorsing is herself. So I completely understand. We
are speaking with Nick Hellyar, a candidate for Houston City Council's District C seat. If you would like to join the conversation, you can call or text 713-440-8870. We have a call from Alexander from Willow Bend. Alexander, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your question for Nick?
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me on. I've written down my question, so I'll read it aloud here.
Okay, Alexander.
Houston is in a budget crisis right now. What services would you cut to get us out of this mess?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that we can go about doing this, right? We can raise revenue and we can cut expenses. I think the EY report that the mayor did, forensic budget analysis, I think we've pretty much cut all that we can, but with the revenue cap that is implemented or by voters on us here at the city, we did not reach that this year. So we need to think about raising revenue. There's also other things that we can do, like maybe having a bond for park renovation and money that goes to our parks. If we can get that out of the budget and into a bond, that's something that will help us this budget cycle. I've worked under 3 administrations, Bill White and East Parker, and most recently Mayor Whitmire, and I've never had a mayor walk in and say, hey, everybody, good news, we've got enough money to go around. What are we going to do with the extra money? So this is quite common. And again, this is why we need somebody that's got political experience at City Hall, having worked on budgets before. I'm the only one in this race that's ever done that before. And again, I go back to I can hit the ground running on day one. I don't need on-the-job training. And most importantly, this budget cycle is where the money for District C comes from, right? And we need an advocate, a strong advocate down there at City Hall that will ensure that we have the money coming to District C for public safety, police and fire and ambulance, for our infrastructure. District C has always been hit hard by flooding, so we need to ensure that we have flood mitigation dollars coming to the district, and then also just quality city services, right? Trash cans getting picked up on time and heavy trash. I know down in Westbury, there's parts of the city that have had huge problems with their heavy trash getting picked up. So we need an advocate that'll go down there and advocate for District C and understands how the budget process works. And then it's go out and find the money where we can, maybe raising the revenue.
Nick, I think that one of the questions that I have for you is you're talking about advocating for these services, and you're mentioning all of these things like flooding, and even I was thinking infrastructure and understanding what District C needs, but how do you actually incite change?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way to go about changing things like this is to get all, and I've seen this before, and thankfully having worked for 2 council members and for Mayor Parker, it's getting, the first thing that you do is you figure out what the problem is, right? And then you get the stakeholders in the room and start talking about solutions. And having worked down there and having worked with these groups, I'll use flood infrastructure as a good example, right? So recently the city was sued by Bob Jones and Alan Watson for the Rebuild Houston. We were taking too much money out of it and not spending money on actual flood mitigation. So, I'm very proud to be supported by both of these guys, and I just sat down with Bob the other day, who was instrumental in flood mitigation around this city, having a long conversation with him, and then getting with the public works director. Right, this is having those relationships with the department heads, I think, is extremely important. When there is issues on the CIP, when there's stuff that needs to be spent on these type of flood mitigation issues, I have the relationships where I can go to Public Works and say, hey, this project that's been moved down the CIP, where are we in line? How do we move that up? And it's navigating the system. And look, the city is a big, giant ball of red tape and bureaucracy. And what you need is somebody that understands how it works and how to get things done. And I completely have done this job. I love this work. And that's how you go about changing things, is actually understanding how it works, how the process is laid out, and how to get to from point A to point B.
We're speaking with Nick Hellyar, who is a candidate for the vacant Houston City Council District C seat. If you'd like to join the conversation, give us a call, 713-440-8870. Philip is on the line. Philip is calling us from Montrose. Philip, what's on your mind?
Hi, I was wondering if you thought that John Whitmire was doing a good job.
Thank you, Philip.
That is a great question. So again, having worked under 3 administrations, I think the mayor is doing the best that he can. He came into office with a lot of issues, not to mention there were huge issues with firefighter pay, police officer pay, and the city employees union. So all 3 of these contracts were up at once. The firefighter issue had been kicked down the road for about 8 years. So he stepped in and solved that problem. People can argue whether the contract was good or not, but that has been solved. The police officers, when he came into office, I think there were something like 5,000 police officers, and the last independent study that was done says that the city of Houston needs about 6,500. So since then, the new contract with the police officers, we've gained about 300 police officers. So that's moving in the right direction. And then I'm extremely proud to be endorsed by the Hope AFSCME, which is the City Employees Union, and they received a new contract as well. And, as a small business owner, I know that your employees are your best asset. And in order to attract the brightest and greatest applicants to the city, we need to ensure that they're paid that way. So if you look at those 3 contracts, I think he's moving in the right direction.
We are speaking with Nick Hellyar, a candidate for Houston City Council's District C seat.
Next up, we have Natalie on the line calling from Northwest Houston. Natalie, what's on your mind?
Hi, thank you all for being here. As I'm sure you know, there's been a lot in the news about this new ICE ordinance. So my question is, if you were on City Council right now, would you vote to support or reject it on Friday?
Yeah, this is probably the number one issue. I can't remember the last time a special session was called. So this is, as a political nerd, having served at City Hall, this is kind of exciting. I have not seen what the proposal is yet, so I can't speak to if I would vote against it or for it. I will say that I did support the Prop A vote this week in order to enact these things. Like, this is a public safety issue, and we need to ensure that that HPD is spending as much time as possible going out and trying to fight crime in this city. And when you have them sitting around doing federal immigration law, that keeps them off the streets. And so we as city leaders need to define their role for them so that they are not put in any jeopardy. The Prop A passed. That was just passed. The city legal team looked at and said that it is legal under SB 4, which is the state law that tries to basically make cities enforce federal immigration law. So, the city attorney said it was legal, and just as a public safety issue, and as a human issue, right? I grew up working in Latino politics in the East End, and I saw firsthand what these kinds of policies do to neighborhoods. And, working in real estate also, when our undocumented neighbors are kind of under the gun and being sought out, this is where landlords can prey on them because they know they won't go say anything, and criminals can do the same. So this touches our city in so many ways, and I think as Houstonians, we're better than this, right? I'm always going to fight to ensure that our law enforcement does everything that it needs to do under SB 4, but legally we have to do that as elected officials. But at the same time, ensure that the cooperation with ICE, that's a federal issue, and our city police officers should not be enforcing federal law.
And again, 713-440-8870. Let's go to Dustin from Montrose. Dustin, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi there. So you've ran for office a few times. How have you advocated specifically for District C since the last election, and why are you running for this seat now?
I've always advocated for District C. I ran at large previously, and that's a whole different ballgame. This seat that came up because Abby Kamen decided to run for county attorney, it really spoke to me. So I started as a constituent services director in the District I office, and it was really there that I realized on a daily basis you can change people's lives for the better, And I'll keep going back to the trash issue because that's the number one thing that I hear when I'm knocking on doors. But you really, when somebody calls a district council office, they need somebody there that understands what they're doing and can take care of their problems. We can all say that we want to go down there and do things, but we need somebody down there that understands the process. And then as far as District C is concerned, I've spent, the majority of my life in District C. I run a small business out of District C. I'm constantly advocating for it, and I'm excited to go to work. This district work is really where city officials can make a difference in people's lives, and I want to use my experience to advocate for my neighbors.
We have 1 minute left. Luke is on the line, wants to ask a question. Luke, if you can make it quick. Nick, if you can answer quickly. Luke, take it away.
Hi. Yes, I saw the police union endorsement on your website and know a lot of our budget goes there. So I just wanted to know if you support increasing, maintaining, or reducing spending on police going forward.
Luke, thank you.
Yeah, great question. I'm extremely proud to be endorsed by the Houston Police Officers Union. The majority of Democrats on City Council and former Mayor Turner were also endorsed by HPOU. We need to ensure that we get to that $6,500 or 6,500 police officer level so that we can ensure that our neighborhoods are safe.
Nick Hellyar is a candidate for Houston City Council's District C seat. The election is May 16th. Nick, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And coming up, a discussion with the DePelchin Center. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues. Houston Public Media is here because of you. 100% of our funding comes from Houstonians like you who value independent journalism and local news that matters. And right now, your donation is doubled in memory of Cindy Weatherly. This is your chance to make twice the difference for trusted news and the stories you rely on every single day. So don't wait to make your impact. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
This is one of those moments when you have to act fast. So right now, your gift is doubled, but it won't be forever. So you got to act fast. $100 becomes $200, $10 a month becomes $20 a month. It's no different for your pocketbook, but it is different for our station. So make that donation for, do it monthly for an entire year. That's twice the support for fact-based news and stories that keep you informed. But this chance wraps up very soon, so don't wait. Double your donation before time runs out. Make your gift right now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or by calling 888-909-0887.
And I want to stop and take a moment to just thank you. Thank you for giving monthly. And if you've never given before, this really is the perfect moment. Right now, your donation to Houston Public Media is doubled. A $250 contribution becomes $500, and a $10 a month donation becomes $20 a month for an entire year. It's an incredible opportunity to double your investment and show your support for trusted journalism. Don't wait. You can make double the difference. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or pick up that phone and call 909-0887 and thank you for your gift.
Houston Public Media is licensed to the University.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
If this show matters to you, take the next step and make your gift at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
What I found was that a lot of the coders, they're writing a lot less code. Some of them are writing no code at all. They are having the AI write it for them. The great majority of everyone I spoke to was really kind of jazzed and excited about the new powers that the AI was giving them.
I'm Natalie Kitroeff. That's Today on the Daily from the New York Times.
You can hear The Daily. It's on tonight at 7 o'clock.
Support comes from Pearland, a community dedicated to growing innovative businesses and inspiring families, offering a diverse workforce, modern infrastructure, and schools, parks, and more. Details at pearlandedc.com. Pearland, innovation lives here.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, Lucy Worsley investigates the American Revolution, presenting the British point of view of the tensions and turning points that led to America's Declaration of Independence. Tonight at 8 on TV8.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Live Nation, presenting David Byrne, Friday, April 24th at Smart Financial Center in Sugar Land. Tickets and more information available at livenation.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous and Celeste Diaz-Sherman.
The month of April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of preventing child abuse and neglect. In recognition of this annual observance, the DePelchin Children's Center, a local nonprofit whose work is aimed at keeping children safe and healthy, invites its volunteers, donors, and staff to tie blue ribbons along the fence of their Houston campus every year, with each representing and honoring a victim of child abuse in Harris County. To tell us more about child abuse statistics in our community, prevention resources, and how to report abuse, we're joined by Megan Green, the Director of Foster Care for the DePelchin Children's Center. Megan, welcome to Hello Houston.
Megan, we're not hearing you right now. Can we check your microphone? You know, Megan's going to check her mic. You're going to be involved with this organization.
Yes. Next week, I will be at their luncheon, and I got to tour the facility last week.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, Ernie, what a beautiful space.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly is. We are so lucky to live in a city where there are people that are willing to just gather the resources and volunteer their time to make sure that we're keeping our young children and families safe. They have all these really cool educational programs for dads and parents, and it really is it's a gem within our city. Megan, are you there?
Yeah, I think the important thing is, though, that we have a community that cares. And the DePelchin Center is very front and foremost in it. Megan, are you back with us? Oh, we're still not hearing Megan at this end. Am I wrong, or are you not?
Nope, I'm still not hearing
While
Megan.
we try to straighten that out, let me ask you, Celeste,
Yes.
and I know I keep bringing this back into family. When you have these conversations with your children, has it changed between your first and your second, the few years apart between them? Are there things that are becoming more concerning, or how you approach it?
You know, not really. My kids are about 4.5 years apart, but it's kind of the same types of things, and unfortunately, oftentimes when we look at abuse, it happens within families. And I think a lot of times there's a lack of education. Just not everybody is lucky to have great role models as parents, and that isn't their fault necessarily.
Yeah.
If somebody is having a child, if a dad, is with their partner and they're having a child and they just don't have the resources or had the example, there's a place in Houston that says, hey, we're here to support you. You might not have all of those other support systems around you, but we are working to provide that and fill in that gap for families. I think I forget the actual name of it, but they really have this program for dads on how to be there for not just your spouse, but there for your child and the support that they can provide.
I'm happy you say that, because I think so often we think of this as it gets put on the mother in the family, and that to have a place that talks with dads too about it, and the love is there, the care is there, maybe just the understanding isn't there of how to address these subjects, and it can be extremely uncomfortable, but so necessary.
Right, and I think that's something that really stood out to me when we were on the tour, when I was talking to Taylor, who so kindly gave me, a tour of this space, was that the DePelchin Center really works at providing comprehensive services. They are looking at the mental health of a parent, and they're stepping in and saying, hey, if you're overwhelmed, we can support you. You're not on your own. And so often, I think those people that need the most support are the ones who often feel the most alienated. And so to be able to have a place where people can go to during some of their most vulnerable times, when you've just had a baby and you're feeling overwhelmed, whether that's financial stress or the lack of support in general, it can be tough. But I believe we have Megan on the line right now. Megan Green is the director of foster care for the DePelchin Children's Center, who can talk, I'm sure, much more better about this than I can. Megan, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, thank you so much.
There
Sorry
you
for the
are.
Difficulties.
No problem, but we're
you
tight.
all are doing a fabulous job, by the way.
Well, we are tight on time, so if you can give me what they call the elevator speech about DePelchin.
Absolutely. So we're a nonprofit organization. We've been around since 1892 in Houston. And really the most important thing we want to say is that we want children to be safe and healthy, and we want to keep families together. So that's what our services reflect. We are focused on prevention. So we want to keep children intact with their families, but we also have a wonderful foster care and adoption program within our agency where we work alongside these families to ensure these kids stay safe while in care and provide the highest quality services to these families.
I asked Celeste a question about the time in the last 4.5 years between her two children, how she talks about these topics with them. In recent time, have we seen a shift in what parents need to be aware of how this, you talk about a long storied career of how long you folks have been doing this, but in recent time, is it shifting how we approach this?
I think the most important thing is just allowing children to have a voice and a space. And, when we want our children to know that this is a wonderful world, but we also have to be very cautious and, to trust their gut instinct. If they see or feel something that doesn't seem right, we want them to feel open and safe to talking with us about that. And providing that space every day for them, is the most important thing, developing that trust first.
And I think it's so hard, Megan, because sometimes children have to learn how to even trust their own parent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the best way we can do that is just meeting them where they're at. Sometimes direct conversation isn't always the easiest on kiddos. So getting on the floor and playing with them, or, if they like video games, taking time to play a game with them, just any way we can elicit conversation with them, the best place to start.
Megan, we are going to have you back because I feel like we are barely even scratching the surface about the amazing work that you guys do at the DePelchin Center. So I would love to have you back, but we want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that brings us to the end of our show.
Yeah, I'm sorry about for DePelchin. We had trouble with the communication with them, and so that's why it was cut short. But as you said, we'll have them back.
Oh, yeah. And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for watching and listening to Hello Houston today. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. We're going to also talk with Houston City Council member Abby Kamen. This is News 88.7. We've got a special opportunity happening right now, and it's a big deal. For only 5 minutes, you heard me right, 5 minutes, every single donation is doubled, and it's doubled in the memory of Cindy Weatherly. That means your $10 becomes $20. If you give $100, it becomes $200 for Houston Public Media. It's simple, and I'm talking really fast because we're running out of time, and I really want you to get into this double type situation, but this chance won't last long. Don't wait. Go. Give now at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909 0887.
They want me to talk to you about the consistency of what you expect from this station, how we're here, how we follow the stories, how we cover Houston. But what I really need to let you know right now is, as you've listened to us over this last week, as you've heard us talk about, it's time to donate. Right now, the exact same amount of money that you would donate would double to the station. So please don't wait. If you need an incentive to make that call, if you've been waiting to make the call, if you've been thinking about it, don't do it anymore. Just go to the phone, go online, make that donation right now. It's the same impact on you financially, but it's double to the station. So I implore you to do it right now. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or 888-909-0887.
And if you've already donated, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for donating on a monthly basis. Your gift, and right now, and if you haven't, so your gift right now of $30, $50, or $125 a month gives Houston Public Media the kind of long-term support we need, and we need it. Your monthly gift makes all the difference. Go, donate, 888-909-0887. And thank you again from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altine, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Metro. World Cup planning includes transit improvements intended to serve Houston after the final match.